Poetry in motion.
Yes.
Hmm. There is a song by Leanne Rimes that starts with that. Came out, I want to say like early 2000s.
Again, women tend to like country songs because they're all written in your language. They're all written in process language.
That
You
is
know?
probably very accurate.
Yeah, and the
And
joke is, what do you do when you get a country, spin a country song backwards? You get your dog back, you get your truck back, you get your girl back.
But bum.
and you find out that we are live for Talk Time with TJ Triple T number 188. August 5th, 2025. Here we are live. All right. Well, I appreciate you all joining in.
That is very exciting.
My name is TJ Zebel. I like to refer to myself as a professional problem solver, which I always have to follow up with. No, I don't know everything. I will never claim to know everything. I do, however, have a unique way of asking questions to help people find solutions to the challenges they're up against. I get the privilege to do all sorts of things, help people with all sorts of stuff: depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, grief, work with uh, athletes from beginner all the way up to pro level, offer corporate coaching, uh, lots of relationship stuff. You can find all that on my website, the tswb.com, the tallskinnywhiteboy.com. That is what it stands for, has since way before the internet. So whatever you find on the internet that doesn't say tall skinny white boy, they're wrong. That's just what it is.
They're wrong. Period. End of story.
Yes, and I offer free 30-minute consultation. That's right, no charge to you. That's 30 minutes with me to chit chat about the challenges that you're up against. During that time, I will check to see if we're a fit. If we are, I promise I'll let you know. And if we are not a fit, I promise I will let you know. My main drive is to get you the change work that you are looking for, and I will do my best to find somebody that will be a better fit so that you can go on and live the best life possible. Also, YouTube. I got a YouTube channel. We got people out there in YouTube land watching live, and I forgot to click.
Glad you caught that one.
Yeah, right. But for those on YouTube, I get the privilege of saying, "Hi, Mom." Mom tunes in every week, watches us, so feeling privileged there. And then we got people from way across the pond, like our good friend Elijah. So I'm feeling very blessed. And for those of you that are on YouTube watching us or watching the recording, please do me all of the free YouTube things that only take you a few seconds, like click the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know we're back on here, and leave some comments. And we got, well, at the end of this recording, there will be 188 of these that you can watch through. There's also a bunch of live trainings that I managed to get recorded that I've put on there. Got a brand new one up there from my training in Las Vegas at Hypnothoughts Live. That one's up and running now. What else? I guess it's time to introduce the tie of the week. A little something I started back in the first Triple T of 2024. We got a colorful one this week, and we got a few fancy characters on there you may recognize.
Love it.
How many memories are popping back right now?
I feel like it's mostly the 90s for me. Can you do the theme song though? I can only do it in my head.
I know that feeling.
I like
You know.
my favorite Bugs Bunny quote. Ain't I a stinker?
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Mimi. There. Oh,
I will disintegrate you with my,
That was a good one too,
cosmic
yeah.
disintegrator.
He went off the air like early. I feel like he was the one I saw the least.
yeah, somebody
Marvin
got
the Martian.
scared by his nebulizer. No, wait,
Maybe.
that's in
My
black.
atomic disintegrator.
Yes. A little trip through our past. Um, but it's time for anybody got anything they'd like to share from the last 7 days since we were here? Some good stuff, some stories. Yes, Lenora.
I would like to share that your talk from HTL is now live on your YouTube channel, and I will put it in the comments, and I'll post it on Facebook so that other people can see it and see the awesome things that you shared about covering your assets.
Yeah. Thank you, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Speaking of fake book, yeah, I'm still not allowed on there.
Well, this is on YouTube, so
Subversive.
Yes. So no, that's why if people are watching this on YouTube and they try to find me on Facebook,
Facebook.
yeah, you're not going to find me yet. Somebody hacked me. We had probably about 14 people report it as I had gotten hacked.
Yeah.
I sent in all the things that they wanted me to send in, pictures of me and da 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 da. And they validated, oh, yep, that's you. All you got to do is log in now. I'm like, well, yeah, if I could get the email and password of that the hackers changed it to, maybe I could. But I'm not a professional hacker, so what's the other option? Nothing. Nothing.
Oh,
But I'm over it now. I'm not bitter.
any minute.
Mark.
I was going to say earlier, like you start every program, you say, I don't know everything. And, there are times, very, where I think I know everything, but then I regain consciousness and I realize I don't know everything.
Yes. Uh-huh. I resemble that remark.
When I do get a breakthrough with a client, I'll come home to the missus and I'll be like, some days I think I can cure a rainy day.
Cure a rainy
Good
day.
answer.
Got to brag to somebody.
Yes.
I like that one. I wanted to share that I recently, I don't know why I thought that this was the way to go for me. I thought a lot of people had a lot of success on social media, and when they would post reels and share what they did on social media, and for me, that just wasn't quite the take. But I have been working with a marketer for a number of months, and most recently came to the conclusion of transitioning what I'm doing to get clients on my calendar. So the whole point was, I don't know why I thought I would get clients through social media on my calendar and then benefit from a marketer versus going, no, you'd probably benefit from a marketer first. And I had shared something that I sent it to a few people. Mark, I might have even sent it to you. And it was an image of like 4 block letters, and it said risk, and I'm trying to pull it up fast enough. And basically saying, the marketer that I shared this with, it's rich. So it's RICH, and as it's rolling the dice or rolling the blocks, it says rich is rotating to risk, and it says risk is mandatory to grow. And I think it's a really good one. And when I had shared with the marketer what I had been doing, and he goes, low risk, low reward. And I thought that was a very interesting twist because I didn't think putting myself out on social media was a low risk. I was like, wow, that's kind of a big thing because not a lot of people will put themselves out on social media. That being said, flipping the dice again and working with this person has really been very eye-opening as to how helpful I can be and also how important it is to be able to effectively share what you do with people. Effectively, not just like, oh, what I would say on a reel. So huge difference. Very huge difference.
Very cool.
In case anybody wants his name, I'll probably share it.
Very cool.
Very.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Well, looks like it's time for us to jump into the topics of the week. This week's topics: silence, absence, and practice. Silence. It's amazing the amount of people that are uncomfortable with silence, especially during conversation or presenting or different situations like that. But there's also times when silence is disturbing. Ask any parent. If you can hear the kids and then all of a sudden you can't hear the kids, what's going on? Or in a relationship when all of a sudden there's certain silence, that cold silence, one that usually is included with, is something wrong? No, I'm fine.
I hate the word fine.
Especially in a situation like that. But it hit me at HypnoThoughts Live. There was a presenter there that was talking on tinnitus or tinnitus, potato, wherever you're from, however you want to. And it struck me, I don't know the last time I ever heard real silence other than deep sleep. And even then, people that know me, I don't sleep very well. I dream to the point where I didn't think it was that crazy, but the more people I tell about how much I dream and how vivid I dream, apparently I'm an excessive vivid dreamer. So
it means anything till you give it a label.
Yes, right. And so even in sleep, I don't get to enjoy much silence. And so there's that part of it. But tonight I wanted to talk mainly about getting used to and practicing the use of silence in talking, especially when working with clients or conversing, and allowing that silence to be part of a point that you set across. It allows people time to think about what you said. Oftentimes, especially if you're around, if any of you have ever been around those machine gun talkers that just can't go, the idea of having any type of slowing down or giving you any type of silence whatsoever means you might actually have the ability to hijack the conversation, and then they wouldn't know what to do, because then they'd have to sit down and they'd have to listen for a little bit, and you're just like, oh my God, would you just shut up? the challenge with them is if you give them a silence, they anticipate that as the opening for their turn to talk. And learning how to deal with them as well, which I've had to do. I've had a couple of clients who we get into a session, and I know that the first minimum 15 minutes is going to be machine gun talk. And so I'll just sit there and I'll type in my notes and I'll listen and I'll listen. And finally they'll come up for air and they'll go, okay, I'm going to let you talk now. I'm like, we're not really having a conversation. You've just been talking at me, not with me. But I'll humor them and I'll go, well, okay. It could be, and they're right back at it. And I'm like, okay. And so now I've gotten to the point where a few of them have realized, especially, hey, Michael, especially those that are working on relationships, is getting them to understand how to have conversations, how to talk with people, not at people, how to utilize silence as part of the conversation. And when you're listening to somebody who actually knows how to utilize and use silence as part of the conversation, are they done talking, or are they making a point? Or are they putting their thoughts together? All of these can be reasons for the silence. And a buddy of mine, I told him that I was going to be talking about this week, gave me a very incredible quote. Unfortunately, he couldn't remember who it came from, and I forgot to look it up. So I'm sure I've got a research pro out there that'll bring it up quickly for me. But the quote is, "Don't speak unless you can improve upon the silence." Don't speak unless you can improve upon the silence. And it cracks me up that there would be some people out there that would possibly find that offensive. And yet others like us were like, wow. Another time where silence is really good, meditating. Now, I've attended many classes, I have many friends that meditate, and I'm going to be flat out honest with you, and a couple of them might be hurt. I still don't know how to meditate. When, like I said, when with my tinnitus, whatever, and the amount of squirrels that run around in my head with ideas, thoughts, and all the above.
DJ, can I interrupt you really quick? I'm sorry I couldn't raise my hand.
Well, yeah, I know looks like you're driving.
Yes, sir. I've got a question really quick on that with your squirrels and with your knowledge and with your experience and not being able to meditate.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree that hypnosis is a form of meditation?
Yes, absolutely.
And so when you're in trance, do you still have all the squirrels?
Well, that's the problem. I have had a massive challenge working with pro hypnotists and working with students and all the above, trying to hypnotize me.
Really?
Major challenge with smart person syndrome.
Okay.
And for those of you that are new and they don't know what smart person syndrome is, that's where, especially if you're in a class or if somebody's trying to hypnotize you, you don't know how to release. And so you're sitting there going, I wonder if this is working. Oh, that's a good one.
And also you try to second guess where they're trying to take you when you're in smart person syndrome.
Yeah, can't get out of the driver's seat.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow.
And
I wouldn't have never thought that.
yeah, the other part, when I try to quiet my mind, I've one of the metaphor man, one of the metaphors that I've come up with is instead of 175 televisions in the room all turned up, I only have 28 of them, and they're very loud. And it's really easy now for me to, instead of looking at 178 of them, and it's a collage, with the 28 of them, now it's a picture. And I can hear what's on TV if I focus on it. And so one thing that I've wanted to try, and hopefully one of these years I'll be able to try it, is apparently, and I believe the last I've heard, this is still true, the quietest anechoic chamber in the world is in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And they claim that people can only stand to be in there for like 4 or 5 minutes because it is so silent in there. You can actually hear the blood flowing through your veins.
And your bones move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I wonder what that would do for my tinnitus. Another one that they've talked about are the sea salt, the saltwater baths that you can lay in. That they've got the salt content so high that you literally you only sink about halfway in.
Yeah.
But they've got a cover that comes down over it, and you can decide if you want it to be pure black or if they've got light shows and all the above. And that's another one where I'm like, I would like to see what that would do for my ability to quiet my mind.
They're pretty neat. I've done it in Sedona.
Oh, well, look at you. I'm going to have to try it.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to go back to mute so I don't keep bugging you. I apologize for stepping on your toes.
It's all right. So we've touched on a number of different places where silence is used comfortably, uncomfortably, where it's searched for, where people don't want it. And I'm curious, what do you guys, what stood out when we were talking about these? Any ahas, inputs, epiphanies so far? Yes, Michael, you can leave your mic on.
Okay. I use silence a lot, especially with what I do. I do sales, and anytime you're trying to provoke thought, or you're trying to elicit a response, or you're seeing if they're paying attention, you want to use silence. Less said is best said.
Yes, less said is best said. Great quote. Mark.
Yeah, with regard to meditation, I have an old book on meditation that says there's two different forms. One is flooding the mind so that, um, and the other one is stopping that internal dialogue. And in both cases, um, the internal dialogue ceases. And as the ancients used to say, when you do that, the world collapses, which basically means your model of reality collapses without that internal dialogue keeping it up and running, because the world is what we tell ourselves it is. So the two, and you can get quiet in your own mind, by either flooding or trying to shut off that internal dialogue. And in both cases, like I said, the sometimes the silence can be profound, like the interior of a rose, according to the poet.
Ah, that's a thought provoker. Lenora.
I love that Mark is talking so much about poetry this evening. This is great. I don't know silence in my head. There's always a voice. Somebody's always talking in there. It's not, it can get quieter, but it's never like, gee, what's that sound? When it comes to meditation, what I always liked the idea of is it's whatever you think it is, however it appears to you, because it appears in so many different ways. And I find that, especially when we're talking to ourselves, and somebody had said, you're not a monk sitting on a mountain practicing this for 10 years. And, the art of doing it for 10 minutes a day, you can get benefit, but you're not necessarily going to get the same benefit as somebody who's sat and done this for 10 years in the quietness and in the presence of nature, where you can really amplify it. I do consider it spending time inside and just noticing what's coming up and taking care of those fears and those worries. To me, that is my form. Some people might call it inner work. Some people might call it change work, or walking the bridge, walking the line. To me, that's what my meditation is. I'm just taking care of my emotions.
Very cool. One of the things that I've adopted over the years is people who know me know that I listen to music all the time. Yeah, here's a little hint and a half. This is probably half of the speakers that are in this room. And a lot of times people will think that that this means that I listen to music loud. Which, don't get me wrong, sometimes I do, but most of the time it's background noise. And the reason I choose music is because I already know the lyrics, I know the words, and I know the beat. So I don't have to focus on it, but it's enough to quiet the other 37 channels that are trying to overpower my head. I've often told people that in my world, silence is one of the loudest things in my world. Because when I don't have music or something of that nature, then yes, my squirrels are like, hey, we're over here, we're over here, we're over here. Hey, check out, look at this one. Oh, what? especially some nights when I'm trying to get to sleep, and I have literally cracked myself up and had my wife go, okay, what now? And I'll explain to her what just ran through my head. And sometimes I literally will not say, I will not tell her what just ran through my head until I can see her facial expression, just so I can watch her face go, for where did that come from? I'm like, I got squirrels from different countries, from different timelines, from a lot of comedy stores. Welcome to my world. Yeah, and Mike, for those of you that are watching the recording, you don't get to, or if you're on YouTube, you don't get to see all the chat stuff. And Mike put in that he also listens to music when he's doing reports. The background will keep the naughty monkeys quiet. Yes. And that's also why I listen to such a variety of music. Music has such, I'll be right with you, Michael.
Okay.
Music has such a variety of mood processes, and I have to be, well, I'm very cognizant after being a DJ for 18 years. I know the power of music. And so I've got work music, I've got relaxed music, I'm in a bad mood, I want to be in a better mood music. I've got workout music. So I have all of that. But in regards to the topic of the night, I don't have silence. And even sometimes I will turn off everything in the car while I'm driving to let the squirrels run around and wear themselves out. Michael.
Question for you, and this is along that topic, with the new studies on tinnitus. Have you been looking at any of those things?
Oh, the young lady that presented at Hypnothoughts was hit me with all sorts of new stuff about tinnitus.
Yep.
Yeah, great info. She was going to be busy for a couple of weeks. I'm going to reach out to her again to see if we can spend some more time together, because the information that she had was amazing.
There's amazing information. That is awesome. I'm glad that you met somebody who's doing that, because I've just been seeing stuff online about it as well. And I'd forgotten you had tinnitus, but otherwise I'd have sent it to you as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, when I started telling her how bad my tinnitus was, she was like, "Wow." And then when I told her that my hearing now in my left ear is right around, I'm going to guess now, about 5%, 10%. But every now and then I'll hear a click in my ear and I'll get my hearing back. And it used to last 3, 4, 5 minutes, but now it lasts about 10, 15 seconds, maybe 20. And then I'll hear another click and it'll go away.
Interesting.
And insurance won't cover the procedures to check to see if there's a problem with the bones in there, making it a mechanical issue. Because, well, we don't cover hearing. I said, well, okay. I hate to break this to you, because I know that you guys only deal with like insurance, like medical stuff, but maybe you could look up the other processes of the inner ear, like balance, because if I'm up on a ladder, if it clicks and I get my hearing back, it's good, but when it clicks off, a good portion of the time, I get really bad vertigo.
Wow.
And being up on a ladder with a bad case of vertigo, I've gotten much better at it. It's a horrible thing to get used to, but
Yes.
sometimes you just got to get used to it. And yeah, and
So on
I'll hang on to the ladder and walk myself down as carefully as I can and wait for the ground to stop moving and go back at it.
wow. So along with the silence, the opposite end of that, my stepsister had a bad fever when she was a little girl, like when she was 3 or 4, and lost 80% of her hearing from the fever.
Yes.
And that as she's gotten older, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And it was kind of good when she was raising kids because she could turn her ears off and she couldn't hear the kids screaming or fighting or doing whatever kids
Yep.
do. You know? And she finally got a wild hair and talked to a doctor and decided to get the cochlear ear
Yes.
when they were first coming out with it. And she's now learned to hear with it. It's kind of crazy because they put a little thing in the back of your head
Yeah.
here behind your ear, and it plugs wires directly into your brain, into your hearing section, and you learn to hear all over again based on the stimulation
Yes.
from the cochlear ear. She said the problem with that is you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
So in the past, she used to be able to have silence, and now she's always hearing. Oof. Holy smokes.
Yeah. And I've got a friend in my hometown that had that as well, but I always try to find the good side and everything. So
Yes,
one
sir.
good thing that I have with not being able to hear hardly at all in my left ear
Mhm.
is when I go to sleep, if I want the room quiet, I sleep on my good ear.
Yep.
All of a sudden, I got a quiet room. Well, other than my tinnitus.
Yes.
Mark.
Yeah, I remember watching a Joe Rogan episode. This guy on Paul Stamens, and he's all into the mycelium, and he was telling a story about a friend of his who had a hearing loss and took the psilocybin, the warrior's journey of and he literally passed out on his deck out back, and he woke up and he heard this scratching, and he didn't know what it was. And like I said, he had a pretty significant hearing loss, and somehow the psilocybin, he looked up and it was an ant walking across the deck. And from that day to this, his hearing came back, and you know, uh, this guy promotes, tries to get these things legalized. There's been a couple of studies, um, London University, and another, again, trying to use psilocybin as a medical treatment for certain things, up to and including tinnitus. So,
Really?
and hearing loss. So, yeah, I don't know. It's supposed to be a longitudinal study on that, but if you want to look up Rogan and Paul Stamens, you can listen to the entire interview.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's like I said, and what Michael said. It looks like he's on a mechanical bull in the video. He keeps bouncing up and down with the, but Paul Stamens, Stamens, on Joe Rogan, and you can listen to the entire interview. That's and that's a couple of years old. So, like I said, more data, more studies come out, and I think they're on the right path to because again, if you could like I said, it's they're using it as a treatment modality, so it seems to have a wide range of benefits for people.
Cool.
So
Well, the
I don't
one
even
doctor that I,
psychedelics in any way, shape, or form.
yeah,
Can't do that because I've never tried them. So,
the
but
one doctor that I got to see that I had to pay for out of pocket because again, insurance wouldn't cover it, put me on prednisone. He thought it was viral. Um, Thank goodness that was during college turnover week because I found out that prednisone is legal speed for some people, and it had me jacked so sideways I could mow the lawn with fingernail clippers and it would be smooth. And then I would paint the garage or wash the garage with a toothbrush. I literally had to take sleeping pills 2 hours before I thought I wanted to lay down. And of course, it did nothing for my ears, nothing for my hearing. But man, did I get through college turnover week in record time. I got a lot of stuff done. And I only lost like 4 pounds or 5 or something. But back to silence, I think it would behoove everybody to study the art of silence in speaking, in conversations, allowing that time for silence to get comfortable with the pause. And the other part, one of the other things that my squirrels brought up, when you start getting comfortable with the silence, there's another part that drops off, and that's the fillers. The the ah, the if you go to Toastmasters, one of the things that Toastmasters does is they will have somebody that actually sits there and counts, marks down every time you use a filler. Well, and when that first report comes up, for some people, it's like you use 27 ums, you use 17 ahs, really. And so they teach you that it's okay to pause, gather your thoughts, or to use the pause, the silence as impression makers, impact makers, chances for people to process what you just said. They also teach that while you're watching your audience, whether it be 1 or 1,000, when you pause, to understand when it's a good time to repeat some of the things that you've said. Especially when people are taking notes. I think we've all been in those training, teaching, seminar situations where the person is simply reading off the notes and they just want to get the information to you as fast as possible because this is very important and all you got to know is what I'm reading right now, and I hope that this is all landing quickly and you'll understand. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I missed 3/4 of what you just said. Well, you weren't listening. No, I heard everything that came out your mouth. except it all sounded like zoom, zoom. And we all know those people that like to talk simply because they love what? The sound of their voice. They love to hear the sound of their voice. And sometimes giving them silence is just a treat for you. You're just like, okay, here we go. And you can start thinking of what you're going to have for supper, what you're going to be doing tomorrow, because it's not going to matter anyway. Any more input on that, or should we squeeze in 2 topics tonight again? This one, no, Joshua, it's not just. This one, you guys will also like. It kind of goes right into it, but it's silence of a different type. This one is called absence. And I brought this up. It's kind of a slippery slope test that sometimes needs to be done. And that is blessing certain people with the gift of your absence or your silence, which can be both. And there are some people that you're not going to want to do this to because they simply do not know how to stay in contact. I've got a number of those people where the only reason that I've had any conversation with them in the last who knows how long is because I've reached out to them. And in the last couple of months, I think I've been keeping track of who has reached out to me. And there's a couple of people that I'm still waiting on. And it is what it is. But in that absence, you have 2 options. You can start finding new people for your tribe, or you can decide how small of a tribe you can deal with. And a good portion of that is going to come down to how comfortable are you by yourself. Now, I believe that humans in our natural form, we are social creatures. We are not meant to be quiet, stoic, alone, all the above. If we were meant to be stoic and alone like that, we wouldn't need near the language that we have. We could go all the way back to what we think it must have been like for cavemen. You have spear, I have dead cow, we trade. See you next year. So we need that interaction. But the reason I brought up absence is the difference between tribes, friends, and acquaintances. Now, working from home, has its challenges in the tribe, friends, acquaintances department. There are a number of people that their tribe is going to work. They're co-workers. That is their opportunity to rub shoulders, bend ears, share gossip, blah, 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 whatever, check on how the kids are doing and have that bonding. For the full-on introverts, not so important. And that's why absence or silence for the extroverts, the strong tribes, the people like that, can be mentally and physically painful. Michael, you're muted. Eye on the road.
There we go. I got it.
There we go.
I'm on the freeway. Check it out. That's actually a really good test, and it's a very scary test as well, because you find how important you may or may not be in somebody who you hold on a pedestal, or somebody else's life that you appreciate, or you may care more for that person than they actually care or honor you.
Yes.
And this goes into always be testing and also honoring yourself first. It's like if you're on a plane and it's going down, you got to put your own oxygen mask on first before you put it on someone else.
Yes.
You know? And so you've got to honor yourself, to thy own self be true. So way to go. That's really a deep test. Good job.
And I'll be right with you, Joshua. The twist caveat on that is understanding, were you the one that set up the reaching out and they are expecting it? Or was it at any point mutual? A friend of mine used to be the person at their business that organized all of the farewell parties, the birthday parties, and all of that stuff at their business. Well, when they decided to move on to a different job, they were hurt big time because they didn't get a farewell party. Everybody else did, and I had to point out to them, who was your successor? Who did they put in charge of the going away parties? And they went, oh. I said, you were the one that put that together.
Yeah.
And
so, sorry.
And just like with my my family, I love them dearly, but the only way that I talk to a good portion of my family is if I call.
Yep.
And I'll ask them, like, so when's the last time you talked to so and so? Well, I haven't heard from them for years. I'm like, well, do you have their number? Well, yeah. Maybe you could try seeing if your phone dials out.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of a crazy concept, but I haven't seen your phone call my phone in like ages. So it's that balance, but giving them enough absence, enough leeway to where you can at some point decide, do I want to reach out and go, hey, you still alive?
Yep.
Well, yeah, I haven't heard from you forever. I know, because my phone hasn't rang at all. If my phone doesn't ring, can I assume it's still not you?
Yes.
Joshua.
Or, sorry.
No, go ahead, Mike, if you got a point that you wanted to make.
Really quick, and I'll be quiet on it. I just went through that with over the past 2 years, TJ, along with my family as well. I've got a great relationship with my dad. My dad loves me, but the only way that I speak to my dad is when I call him.
Mm-hmm.
And my stepmother accidentally blocked my number because it came up Lunch Money Club, and she didn't recognize it. So now if I call the house, I'm immediately blocked. I have to call their cell phones. And I've now quit calling daily, and I simply now let it, hey man, I'm here. You call me, great. If not, we're not talking. And it sucks because you only have so much time, as you know, with your father.
Yep.
And by him not reaching out, it's costing us both conversation and time and memories and things like that. So it's very interesting.
Yes. And another
So,
one, when I got Facebook taken away from me by that hacker, I lost contact with so many people that was my main contact with so many people. And I actually had one of my great uncles thought that I was mad at him. And his daughter finally was like, Dad, have you tried calling him? No. Well, she reached out, would you please call my dad and let him? Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to get, I couldn't get a hold of you because Facebook locked me out because they thought that I was the one doing all the stupid shit the hacker was doing.
thank you, Joshua.
No problem, brother. This is such a rich point. I like this. But I was thinking about it from a couple of points. One being the military perspective, and I know that you guys have worked with a lot of military folks, so I think that this will land, but then two, it'd be good to hear what you guys have to say about it. But Mike, I kind of want to piggyback on what you said. My entire adult life, I may have received, I mean, probably with the exception of this year, 20 calls from my parents in my entire adulthood. And those would be like, hey, we need money and that kind of stuff. And so, definitely had to cut them off from that. And that was a conversation that I had with my dad a couple days ago, because I haven't spoken with my mom since last July.
Uh-huh.
And the last time I called her, she picked up the phone and we spoke for a little bit. But when she picked up the phone, the first thing she said was, "Oh, great, I'm going to be on the phone for the next 2 hours." And I was like, I kind of laughed, because yeah, I know, I like to go long, it's fine. But I was just like, "Oh, Ma, something came up. I'm gonna have to go do something else. Bye." And I hung up the phone. That was it. Last time I talked to her.
Yeah.
And and saying, and so there's been a couple of things. But I wanted to say from the military mindset, one of the questions that I have for the team here would be time displacement. So I know for me, I have a really weird and distorted perception of time where almost everything, basically, this isn't wholly accurate, but it'll get the point across, where basically everything that would happen more than let's say a week, 2 weeks ago, for me, happened in the same impossibly long day, right? Like all of it was just like one day of just craziness. So whatever you want to call it, all of my memory exists in a single day. It's like a ball and chain that I'm dragging about a week long, or so. And one of the things that I've noticed amongst military friends is we have, and I don't know if this is true outside of the military, but we have this ability that if I haven't spoken to any of them in months, years, whatever, as soon as I speak to them again, it's like right where it left off. And so my buddy Chase, right? He like top tier guy. I love that man, but I haven't spoken to him in weeks, if not months now. And but if he called me today, I'm picking up weapon and I'm gonna go help him fight the fight.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't even be a question in my mind. And I was thinking about it because I know there's one thing I'm going to share, and then the other one is I know I have shared with the group, but I think I'm getting my ass kicked by it right now. And that's the first thing is that the mission mindset, right? So a lot of us that don't lose for the war within, what we end up gravitating towards is figuring out what the day's mission is going to be and then getting the mission done. And so it kind of becomes this sort of bizarre focus, but time's not really a part of it. And so we tend to fall out of contact because we're just getting mission done. Right. Like, and that's what's allowing us to kind of get through like whatever it is that we're working through. And that, that may be a survival development based on either not having a lot of connection to begin with, or not having a lot of healthy connection, or in like my case, I don't have a family so much as that I can lean back on. But, so it just becomes more of like the night before, it's like setting up the mission, then I get to the mission, and then I realize like weeks have passed, months have passed, and there's some of these guys that I haven't reached out to. And I'm like, damn, man, but the same thing, they don't reach out to me either. Right. But if we do connect, it's like, hey man, like, what's going on? What's new? Like, and we just pick right up where we left off. Now, the second thing, and this is like more custom to me, I had mentioned that one of the things that I had learned from the spec ops community and dealing with, just if at the bare minimum deployment, but if not like hard circumstances and the kind of crap you see when you are deployed, is that whenever you're on the phone with somebody and you hang up the phone, rehearse the fact that they just died and you'll never get to speak to them again. And the idea was twofold. The first is make sure that you say everything that you need to say. Don't let shit like hang out, right? Yep. The second is that you can't afford to be in the middle of the mission and have something like that derail you.
Yes.
And so I've been thinking about it, and when you were bringing it up, I love serendipity. There's no wasted time movement, but it got me thinking. It's like I've practiced that so much, right, in my life that like when bad stuff happens, it's like, damn, they just died, and it's like, and I don't know, like if that's so morbid or whatever, but it's more of like that, just, that like the thing with my mom, it's like I lose zero sleep over the fact I haven't spoken to her in a year, and like my sister, I just reached out to her yesterday and found out she has cervical cancer, and I was just like, damn. But then it was like, I'm like, am I missing something, or and so I wonder if sometimes like we practice like the skills that we use to get through the stuff become our crutch, is basically why I wanted to bring that up. And I think that's really all I had to say with that, other than that, with the reaching out part, when it comes to perhaps the military mindset or the survival mindset, would you have additional guidance for that? Right? Because there'll be times like people get in, they have families, they have commitments, they have whatever. And I've noticed this kind of paradoxical thing where a couple of my friends, like my buddy Chase, he's like got 4 kids and stuff. But then I got another buddy who's got a full-time job. He's a singer in a band, like he does all this stuff. Both of them in common will be like, hey man, we should hang out. Like, give me a call when you're free. And I'm like, but brother, like, I'm not the one. I'm not the one who, and it's like, come on, guy. I'm not going to call you every day to see if you're free.
Yeah. Like,
I know you're busy, but if you want to hang out, I will make time for you. You just got to tell me when you're going to be free. Because if you got a gig 8 nights a week, right? I'm going to say it just to be silly, but like, then it can't be me calling you every day just in case.
Right. And the cool part about your timing, we're in the second hour, and that's a great topic. We're going to use that to start it right off. For those of you that are watching for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, the way Triple T works, the first hour, we do our best to try and get through 3 topics. Today we managed to squeak in 2. Yay! And second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a question or a topic, and I let everybody else on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And that was a great starter for the second hour. So who's got some input for Joshua? Michael? He's waving his
I,
hand.
I do, I do, I do, I do, I do, I do. Can you hear
Mickey!
me?
Oh, 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 oh!
Yeah.
Mr. Carter!
Mr.
Mr. Carter!
Carter, Mr. Carter, ooh, ooh, Mr. Carter. So I actually have a couple things on all of that. So first of all, one of the coolest things, there's a thing called zero-based thinking. And zero-based thinking means if it doesn't bring positive or growth to your life, cut it out. And like with your mom coming with the negative vibe, well, now it's gonna be an hour conversation. Dude, perfect, man. That's not bringing positive to your life. Got it. That's cool. And if it comes back, it's meant to be. If it doesn't, oh well. It's all okay. With connecting with your buddies, that just means that you've got a lot of commonality, a lot of connection, and you've got the ability to pick up right where you left off, which is fantastic. And then when you see people, well, you got to get the words in before they're dead. That also comes from your military because, dude, you don't know. We're not promised tomorrow, and it can happen to anyone, anytime. We don't know. So live while the moment of living is there to enjoy. Give while the season of giving is yours to give, because someday everything we have will be given. So awesome, dude. I think you're doing great. Don't sweat it. As long as you're not holding grudges, because that's the heaviest thing in life to carry is a grudge. Uh,
We're going to hope that's just a bad spot for communication. While we're waiting for Michael to get back, Mark.
did I lose y'all? Okay.
Oh, are you back? There you go.
Did y'all lose me?
Yeah, you froze like
Like a frozen halibut.
Shoot. Well, I'm at my house, so I've got Wi-Fi. So what part did you hear and what part didn't you hear?
we heard everything you said, and then we didn't hear any of the silent stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to do a real quick recap. First of all, zero-based thinking.
Yeah, we
Did
got
y'all hear
that.
that? Okay.
Yeah, we got
Did
up
you?
to your buddies.
Okay, so with your buddies, so since his military background, it just shows that you're connected. You've got good connection. You can pick up right where you left off, which is fantastic. That means you had good friends. And then when you're dead to me, after we hang up the phone call, that's just saying, hey man, with military, for example, we don't know. And with life, we're not promised tomorrow. So we got to make every day count. You give while the season of giving is yours to enjoy, because someday everything we have will be given. And then everything is golden, like with your mom, unless you hold a grudge. If there's any kind of grudge, that's the heaviest thing in life to carry, is a grudge.
Yep.
So make sure you've dealt with any past or any kind of things, especially with cervical cancer or anything that she has. That way you don't have regret if and when she does pass, because you don't want to have a regret either. So, but keep doing what you're doing. I think you're on the right track, and enjoy your life, man. Does that help?
Right on. Mark.
All right. I'm going to go inside. I'll see y'all in a minute.
All right.
Joshua, again, you've talked about, like I said, your military training, and um, the military, especially it's in the Marine Corps manual somewhere, that we're both the animus and the anima. We're both the male and the female. And it basically says in the manual, you try to kill the woman inside of every man because it makes them more efficient killers. So a lot of your training, like when you hang up with somebody, they're dead to you. That's the military mindset that will just make you a more efficient killer. And that's how you were trained. But you can embrace empathy again, and if someone comes into your mind, that phenomena, you're probably coming into their mind at the same time. Talk about serendipity. So if somebody, like your sister, your mom, reach out, don't like Michael said, don't regret. Just like I said, like I said, you have to re-embrace the the empathy, and because a lot of your training was to kill empathy because you don't want to be, you're drawing a bead on an enemy, and you don't want to be thinking about, oh, he's got a family, and and if and they'll have to be alone, and his wife will have to raise those kids. You can't be thinking that way when when you got somebody else, an enemy in the crosshairs. So, that's the military training, and that's what they try to, kill the woman inside of every man. But you can again, you're doing again, the fact that you're questioning it is the healthiest piece. Okay. That, why don't I reach out? Why don't, and, people have to be trained, to do these things like, kind of what TJ was saying about, you know, you know, there's, you know, but if like I said, if somebody's, image pops into your mind, it's probably popping into theirs. It's probably something to do with, quantum realities. So pick up the phone and call them. Hey, I was just thinking about you. Yeah, I know. That's why I call.
There.
Um, seems to happen that way, but like I said, you're starting to do the work. You're starting to question, like I said, the conditioning, the programming, the military mindset. And that's the healthiest, that's a real healthy thing, is for you to, like I said, I question my own, what forces program me, Catholic school, kind of like the military, but, but the idea is that you're, like I said, question that. Like I said, is that who I want to be? Do I want to be this, like TJC, a lone wolf, or, do you want to be part of the pack? Well, reach out to your pack, plan something, doesn't, get together with people, organize something, the same thing with mom. If, like I said, yeah, I was just thinking about you, and, I just want to reach out to your sister. Like you said, she probably popped into your head at the same time you probably popped into her head. Okay. Seems to happen that way. So embrace that, like I said, and create that empathy, that connection that, your training tried to sever. So that'll be my recommendation.
Something popped up when you said that. Remember back in the days of the matriarch of the family, where everybody went to grandma's place for all the holidays, all the stuff, and even if the relatives didn't get along, grandma was like, "You're gonna get along. You're gonna show up because we're family." And so you'd show up, and everybody was cool until they had a little too much eggnog or too much of the Christmas wine, but they still did it. And Joshua, when you brought up the part about those guys that you can go for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and then all of a sudden you run into them or the phone rings or whatever, and you're talking like you just talked yesterday. And the only difference is you're catching up on 2 years of stuff that they forgot to tell you yesterday. That's how easy the talk is. Those are tribe members. Those are brotherhood members. Those are the people that they pass the test. Part of the absence part that I'm talking about is the ABT when you actually do talk to them again. Who reached out? Did it get long enough to where you're like, okay, this is ridiculous. They're never going to call me. and you call and you listen closely to how the conversation starts and how it goes, how it flows. And a quote that I wanted to share with you that we covered earlier, I think you'll like this one, Joshua. The quote is, "Don't speak unless you can improve upon the silence." I think that can also apply a little bit to the absence. You know, there are some people that their absence is welcomed. I remember one time my pops watched me borrowing $20 to a guy. My dad goes, "What the heck are you doing? He ain't ever going to pay you back." I said, "Yeah, I know." "Well," and I said, "and he'll also cross the street if he sees me walking down the sidewalk to avoid having to pay me back." So the $20 investment for me to have his absence was worth $20. If I thought it would have taken 40, I'd have borrowed him $40. That I would call strategic absence. And sometimes we need that as well. It's evaluating our tribe and deciding who has our back, who is going to put in some effort to be included in the pack. So again, it's not about frequency. If I've got people like that. I got people that I haven't talked to in 2-3 years. But the last time I talked to them, it was probably 2 or 3 years. Even like when I go home, there are certain people that when I go back home, I haven't seen them for at least a year. And the conversation starts right back up, just like you said, the energy is right back in line, just like I had walked out the door yesterday and walked right back in. And that validates and is part of understanding the absence. Then you get the other people that you haven't talked to them in 3-4 weeks, even though they said they'd get a hold of you. And the conversation is strained when you see them. It's like you have to start over again. And you can test and evaluate what was missing. Why is the strain there? Why is it so hard to maintain this relationship, and is it worth it? Some people are just simply socially awkward. I've got a client that came to me and we've been working for a while on it, but because of everything he's gone through in his life, he is very socially awkward. And when he reaches out to me, I know that it took him a lot to reach out. And so I'll respond as quickly as I can. So that's some of the stuff my squirrel brought up for that idea. Any ahas, epiphanies, inputs on that? Nobody? You got your hand up, brother. Yeah, go ahead.
I was being polite. No, I just wanted to say thank you for fielding that question. I got a couple of follow-ups, but I also wanted to say thank you, TJ, for not even sure what to call it, but basically one of the questions I would have had is like ever since I was in college, people said like, well, you got to find your tribe, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And instead of just talking about it, like you actually gave a point, like that's a way you can tell, and I really appreciate that, especially bringing it up with the always be testing and an always be testing. I'm curious. So yeah, I got basically the 3 points, one for each of you. So Michael, in terms of the zero-based thinking, I do like that. I want to affirm that, at least as far as my family goes, I would be the one calling. Generally, like if I'm driving or something like that, I would call just to like catch up. Don't have any issue reaching out, and but being engaged is the issue, right? So like I could talk to my mom for like 3 hours, and it was like pulling teeth out of a chicken, so like I mean, it's just like, hey mom, what's going on? And I haven't talked to you in a while. Oh, it's good, okay, cool. Like, what have you been doing all week? Oh, it's good. Let me guess, you're playing Bubble Blast again, aren't you? It's like that. And so at some point you just gotta be like, okay. That being said, I also wanted to affirm that carrying grudges is not something I do, right? And that goes back to, and leaning a little bit on the point you made, Mark, is that in being trained to fight and cultivating aggressive quality, one of the things that happened for me early on, and I wasn't taught it just kind of manifested in me really quickly, was this isn't personal, right? So like whether I've had to beat the tar out of somebody or whatever, like it doesn't matter. Whether I get into a fight, whether, I get into an argument, whether like I had to like, choke a dude out until he was frothing at the mouth, whatever, it's not personal. And so like and I didn't know, but that's actually one of the things that kind of saved my life, because it's a version of the disassociation and double disassociation where like, I kind of jump out and then, but I think that there's a part in this where I'm still kind of hemmed up by the trying to save a sinking ship, because if you say something like the relationship is worth it, or like family is supposed to be worth it, stuff like that, like kind of where do you draw the line? And so Michael, the question I would have for you as a follow-up with zero-based thinking is where would you draw the line to just negativity versus resistance? Because like, for example, if I want to work out, I need resistance, right? If it's never, any kind of, if I'm just lifting weights, I can, like this book here, I can all day, I can do this, but like, I'm not going to get, but so much stronger doing that. So I'm curious, like, where would you draw the line in negativity with respect to spiritual bypass? And then
that into go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. And Mark, I wanted to thank you for the bringing back that point. We're both the animus and the anima. And one of the things that I think I get a little bit stuck on is not that I have any trouble reaching out or making connections with people. It's a lot of times that I'm struggling with but why am I doing this? Right. Is like what I find is that for me, me personally, I don't have an agenda. There's nothing I'm trying to get from somebody. Like I have everything I need here. And, so it's like, for example, one of the things that I do enjoy doing is helping people figure out like stock market stuff. And there's been a bunch of people that I've helped all this last week, including a guy in London, just sort of like going through a primer and things like that. But I also encounter people, my sister would be one of those, where that she would throw resistance and just be like, oh, well, I just can't do all that. I just don't have the money to invest. Well, you guys just bought two RVs and 2 cars. So I'm a little curious as to what you mean by like, so it's not up to me to decide what they do, and I'm not trying to. But what I mean is like, I was just talking with a friend of mine. That's why I was late today. The community was having a little get together, and I wanted to go down and see what it was about. And they had a food truck there that was all about some barbecue, and I was almost in a coma. But we were talking, and that was one of the things that I said is I was like, do I present to you like I have an ulterior motive, right? Do I present to you like that there's something I'm trying to get or that I need something? And the answer was no. And I'm like, yeah, there's not. I don't have anything. Whether you take the advice or you don't, cool. Like I'm not trying to get anything from you, right? And so,
So
but
Josh, that's actually zero-based thinking right there. Right there.
oh,
You're not, hey, I'm bringing this to the table, and you either take it or you don't. If you don't take it, boom, that's all right, and I just let it go. You know, you can only do so much, and you can only help so many times. And then, like with your mom or with anybody else who is more likely to play bubble thing or whatever, instead of respecting your relationship and your time and the moments that you're sharing together, that's zero base. All right, boom, all right. And then you do what TJ just said, you offer distance. And if they don't reach back out, you got your answer. You know exactly where you stand in that situation. So it's not worth your energy or your time unless it's a choice because you feel you have a spiritual connection and you want to stay with that. If you don't, let it go. And then move on, because there's other things that more people you can help, more places to do things, and more stuff to grow. You know, you can't help someone out of the mud who doesn't want to get out of the mud.
yeah, and you definitely can't save them by diving in the quicksand with them. It's one of my favorite sayings.
Yeah, they're going to pull you in. So,
Ooh,
you know,
actually, speaking of favorite sayings, one thing I'd like to offer to the group too is one of my favorite sayings, and it's speaking of silence and absence. It's many men seek solitude, but there are none built who can withstand it. And
One more time.
there are many men who seek solitude, but there are none built who can withstand it.
There. Yes. And I had a squirrel jumping over here with a sign. When you asked if they thought that you had ulterior motives, or how did you base it for when you were trying to teach them about stocks and stuff like that? If you go to values and criteria elicitation, it will it'll clear that up really quick.
I've heard you mention that a couple times, TJ, but I'm not sure. I don't think it's been really discussed since I've been here. Like the values and criteria. I mean, I can intuit what it means, but I wouldn't mind taking a little bit of time to kind of walk through that.
It's understanding that you cannot, every decision that you make is done through values and criteria. You can't pick bubble gum, you can't decide what clothes you're going to wear, all the above. Well, if somebody is, if you're going to offer input for stocks, stuff like that, the two main questions for values and criteria elicitation is, what's important to you about ... How will you know when you get it is a good follow-up. And so with trying to present, when trying to present about stocks and stuff like that, you could be like, what's important to you about investing money in anything? How will you know when you're getting a good return? Stuff like that. What's important to you about learning anything about stocks? And when they give you those answers, your reply includes those answers as part of the echo talk. So what's important to you about learning about stocks? Well, to make sure that I've got decent return. What's important to you about the amount of return that you've got in any investment? Well, it has da 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 da. Now you're going to give them information based on that alone. For starters, so that they understand that you're answering their values and criteria. The problem with most people, especially in sales and stuff, is they go straight to features and benefits.
Yeah. Yep. I've heard that.
And so when you're presenting, even like to your sister, their values and criteria are in, and this is just a mind read, just a guess, their values and criteria are in immediate compensation. We invested into, and we have RV. We took our money, we invested into, we have new car. If we invest in stocks, we can't hold it, we can't touch it, it's not tangible, it doesn't feel we could, you know, and again, that's just a mind read. And so in eliciting their values and criteria, you can find out what their thought process is regarding stocks, regarding investing money. If they make it clear that they think that the stock market is a total scam, a sham, and all the above, and everybody loses, then you have to dig a little deeper into where those thought processes were built. And if you think of values and criteria as the foundation for every decision ever made in your life, and every building block that was put into that foundation, some of those building blocks go back to conception. And then as you grow, more little building blocks are put into that foundation. Some of them are very small and fragile. Some of them are massive and made of titanium. My criteria is, one of my criteria, I'm a man, I'm a male. That building block, rock solid in the corner, it is titanium. It's going to be really hard for somebody to try and take that building block away from me. Other ones of brand loyalty, that's a pretty fragile little building block in my values and criteria. Does that help? Or is there anything I can clarify on that for you?
Yes, and I think as more to be more specific, and I'm pretty sure all of y'all know, or you've heard this before, but it's like when you're doing a client intake call and you're listening to somebody, go through like all of the things and what it's cost, right? Like you'll take them straight through that process. And then, okay, but what does this cost you? And they'll tell you, oh, like millions of dollars in divorce, or hundreds of thousands of dollars in my house burned down, or they'll take you through all the everything else. And then you're like, you finally get to step 14 or whatever. You're right before the close, and then you're like, okay, cool. Well, I could help you fix all that, and that'd be like $500. And they're like, oh, I don't have the money for that. And you're like, wait a minute, like, wait, what? But because you went through that whole process, right, and they've already spelled it out for you, right? And so in and I wanted to acknowledge, because where you took the conversation immediately was already 10 levels above where I find myself usually in the conversation. Because where I find myself in the conversation is usually people struggling and they don't have money and they're not sure what to do and they don't know how to like improve their life. And then I'm like, okay, cool, like I want nothing, but like I'll show you how you can you can basically get about 10, let's say anywhere from 5 to 8% for sure, and possibly up to 10% per month. And then they're like, I don't have money for that. I'm like, wait, you don't have money to print money? What? but I'm already like, I was already in the argument, and when you started talking about that, I could see that more clearly. Like you were already in like the, okay, but what's my purpose, my entry point, my exit point? And I found myself being refreshed by that, because like I would talk about entrance strategy and exit strategy. But I'm like, man, that's not like what most of those conversations look like at all. I was like, oh man, I'm barking up the wrong tree. Ah.
And a master at this has his hand up because he knows what this is like. Michael, share some light.
Josh, this is where you use what TJ said, silence, and you ask questions. So in this situation, you say, it's cost you millions and it cost you divorce, cost you all that. What would it be worth to you to get some of that back? What would you be willing to invest? What would you be willing to spend? And then you shut up and you let them
that,
answer.
that was the
And if
part
they
in this
don't
memo I've been
answer,
scraping and just couldn't do.
and if they don't answer, then you ask them again in a different way. So what would it look like? So if they're a visual person, now you're going to ask them, hey, what would it look like, to invest in something like this? If they're auditory, what would it need to sound like in order for it to sound good for you? If they're a feeling person, how would it feel to get some of this back? And then tweak it a little bit. But it's all about listening and seeking to understand with your questions, not just talking. And you said it a little while ago, you've been arguing. It's not an argument, because as soon as you start arguing, you're going to lose. You're coming from a situation where you're trying to help somebody. And the only one who loses would be them for not listening or not participating or not taking part in the conversation. And a conversation is not talking at somebody, but it's communicating. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is our newest member of the family. I don't know if you can really see her, but we don't have a name for her yet. But
Yeah.
she's a little black chihuahua kind of thing. Let me see if I can find it better. How do we change this? Trying to change the thing. Here we go. Look, can't see her. Oh, there she almost popped up. Anyway, she's a little chihuahua black little thing. We're trying to come up with a name for her.
That'll be interesting. Let us know when you pick one. Holly.
You got it.
So I'll just put my 2 cents in here. I will say, first of all, criterion values is definitely always the place to start. But I'll also throw out there the concept of restoring personal autonomy. And it's kind of this idea that everybody's always, they've always got a certain outcome they're always trying to push us towards. And sometimes we need to remind somebody, I don't have an agenda. And so, like, let's go with money, for example. We could say, hey, there's multiple ways we can live our lives, but 2 common ways people live their lives. You've got some people who, they invest and then they get returns down the road, and they've got money for retirement, all this sort of thing. But then there are some people who like to spend money and they get in lots of debt. And so if you're the kind of person that you enjoy just that dopamine hit of spending and you want to be in as much debt as possible and you don't want to have any money for retirement ever, I can teach you how to do that. I know enough about money. So, but just so that I can understand where you're coming from, a little bit better, if you were to want to and pay off debt on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would that mean to you? And then this is the key is, so they'll say, maybe a 3. And they're expecting you to say is, oh, wow, that's so low. Why didn't you rate it higher? Instead, you say the opposite. So you say, oh, interesting, 3 out of 10. Why didn't you rate it less? So basically, and you might find that 3, and maybe you're expecting it to be a 9, and that, that also helps you kind of realize where you're at to start. But you have to kind of mean it too. If they really want to live a life where they're in as much debt as possible, I can help somebody learn how to do that. It's really easy to do. But that's where you're tapping into what do they actually care about life.
Good stuff. Elijah.
Yo.
There you go.
Persuasion
Ooh. Mike's
is
on.
what?
When
Sorry,
you first came on, your mic was really hot.
Apologies. Persuasion is not about getting people to want something different from what they already want. Persuasion is about showing them that the way to get what they want is by listening to you. And the only way you can do that is if you first do some investigation work into figuring out what it is that they want. That's why you ask questions like, well, what's important about X? And they say A. You say, okay, well then what's important about A? And they say Q. And you say, okay, and ultimately, what's important about Q? And they're going to chunk, when you say the word ultimately, they're going to chunk up real high. And they're going to give you an answer like freedom. Okay? And so then, when it's time to start using your silence gambit that Michael was talking about, and it's like, well, how much, like, okay, you say it's cost you this and it's cost you that. How much is not knowing what you don't know gonna cost you even more going forwards? The uncapped unknown cost of freedom, right? So then you link it back to that super high, mega up chunked value, and suddenly, like, dude, if freedom is one of your highest values, it is really, really, really hard to go against it. It's really hard. I can't do it. I can't go, like, if I tell you my top 3 values, I can't go against them. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter how much I want it. I'll find another way. Because those top 3 values are top 3 for a reason in my life. Right? And so, understand that persuasion does not mean you're going to try and coerce someone into thinking your way. That's not what it's about. It's about figuring out how are they already thinking. It's not about figuring out how to motivate them. It's about figuring out what already motivates them and then leveraging that. It's the same with hypnosis. I tell people all the time, you don't need an induction.
Yes.
You don't need to put anyone in trance. People are going in and out of trance all day long. All you have to do is catch them when they're there and give them a suggestion. That's it. They're going to go into trance anyway. I can see a few of you slipped into trance while I've been speaking. Right? And so,
You have that natural voice. It just sucks people in.
really, thank you. Really, it's about not overthinking and overcomplicating it. A lot of these sales trainers and sales gurus are way, way overcomplicating things. Right? People already have things in their life that that motivate them. You just have to find out what they are, and then make sure you're on the right side of the argument. Right? People already have, Sometimes we do, like, people say, like, oh, you're going to set an anchor. We're going to get you really excited, and then I'm going to touch you on your back of your hand, and then I'm going to trigger excitement, and I'm going to teach you how to trigger excitement on demand. Well, no. Ask them about what they enjoy and what kind of things get them excited, and they will do a movement or a thing and that's the anchor. You just hijack the anchor that already exists. You don't need to set a new one. It's about paying attention. That is rule number one in all of communication. I don't care whether you're doing therapy, whether you're doing sales, whether you're trying to seduce someone, whether you're trying to make your kids do their homework, whatever it is you're trying to do. In all communication, number one rule is pay attention, because they will give you everything that you need. Thank you.
And the crowd goes wild.
100%. 100%. It's all about skillfully questioning and carefully listening, because they will give you every bullet. And then when you find the hot buttons, when you find the triggers, that's when you use those. But there's no close for a closed mind.
There.
And so,
Just, yes.
so for example, if they don't care about the stock market because they're focused on this or that, hey, brother, all I can do is show you the way. I can't make you drink it. I've got no skin in this game. If you want to take advantage of it, fantastic. But if their hot button is their family, well, would it be great to be able to help them out? Would it be great to help this or help that? That's how you do it. So good job. Elijah, you're the man. You rock. And that's our new puppy. Any suggestions for a black puppy's name?
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. That's kind of cute. So we're thinking like
Nickname him BS.
well, she's
Dark
chaos.
chocolate.
Dark chocolate. So, all right.
We'll come up with something.
If something bubbles up, let me know, because we had Blaze, because she had a blaze on her forehead and she's sleeping. We've got Mocha, because she's like mocha chocolate kind of girl. We had Cinder, who passed away, and she was like Cinderella, and she was Cinder color.
Pepper.
So, Pepper. There's lots of people with a dog named Pepper. So we
Okay.
thought about Pepper.
Then I'll message you.
Yes, please do. Appreciate you guys.
One thing I wanted to add to all of the stuff that we've been talking about in sales, the number one is authenticity and doing it for the right reason. Because a lot of this stuff can be weaponized to be used the wrong way. And I've seen it, witnessed it. It's pissed me off. I've had discussions with some people that I've had people that have come to me for training for certain stuff, and I've taken the time to use the trifecta to find out, why do you want to learn this stuff? And there were a couple of them that when they finally revealed why they wanted to learn this stuff, I was like, yeah, I don't think what I teach is what you're looking for. Maybe you want to find another teacher. Maybe you want to go somewhere else. Because, yes, this stuff does work quite well when you understand it. And I don't want to be part of the reason why they can use it the wrong way. So, There's that part as well. Another part from Dr. David's trainings was know your outcome. What do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? And sometimes the answer is I think it's a little shallow, well, because I want to make a sale. Why do you want to make the sale? Why is it important to you to make a sale? And I'll turn around and drill right down to their values and criteria. Again, and if they're using the wrong motivator, they're going to have a lot more challenge completing the sale. When the reason to do it is in alignment with their values and criteria, the sales come much easier. Another story that I like to tell, and I've had somebody question me on the validity of it, and I'm at the point where, you know what, I don't care. It's a great story. It's a great metaphor. If nothing else, I'll change it to Hansel and Gretel, but whatever. Is the Macy's effect. Macy's came into the game a little late, but rose quickly. And rumor has it that it was because one of their trainers was brilliant and made sure that everybody that was on the floor, didn't matter if you were a salesperson, if you were the checkout person, whatever, you learned how to sell with values and criteria elicitation. And the scenario would be Mrs. Olson comes walking in the door and person walks up, hello, can I help you? What are you looking for today? Well, I was looking for a blender. Oh, you're looking for a blender. Echo talk. And they would be like, so what's important to you in a blender? Are you looking for a glass top, a stainless? Are you looking for lots of speeds? Are you going to use it a lot or just a little? Are you crushing up ice? Whatever. And finally, when they would get all the values and criteria, then it would be like, oh, you're looking for the Model XYZ. Hold on just a sec. Let me go grab one for you. And they would come back and they would go, we're out of the Model XYZ, but I called and Sears, which is just a block and a half down the street, has them, and I've got one waiting for you at the customer service desk. And Mrs. Olson looks at him like, what, you're sending me to your competition? Well, yeah, because the Model XYZ is definitely the best one for what you're looking for. And we don't have one in stock right now. And so Sears has one. I've got one waiting for you. She's like, okay. So she heads out, walks a block and a half down, goes to Sears, up to the customer service desk. Lo and behold, there's the Model XYZ. She takes it home. It is the best blender she has never realized she's been wanting her entire life. This thing is exactly what she wanted. Who does she tell? Anybody that can understand her language. Where does she go anytime she wants anything? Straight to Macy's. And I've taught that sales tactic to a number of salespeople now. Know your product very well. Know your competition's inventory as well as you can, so that when somebody comes to you and you drill down and you understand what they are looking for, If you don't have it, do not sell them what you have on the shelf just because you want to make a sale. If they're like, I don't want to drive over to the other place, what do you have instead? Then you can make the switch to a different product, and you let them know what in their values and criteria this other product is missing. So it doesn't feel like bait and switch. And without this training, I was doing that when I was selling cars back in Minnesota. And the owner of the place got furious with me when he found out that I sent one of a potential customer across town for the car they were looking for. I got my payback though. That customer that I sent across town came back to me with family and friends. And I got probably 8 sales out of sending them somewhere else because I didn't try to push what I had on the lot. And what I sent them for was exactly what they needed, because I was able to pull out a few things they had not thought of when they came to the lot. And so they sent their friends and family to me because they knew that I would do the same process with their friends and family and ask them values and criteria elicitation questions to figure out if I had exactly what they were looking for. Michael.
Really quick, that brings up 2 things, and we're getting close to the hour, but I want to cover it really quick. Along with Macy's, you have Costco. And Costco has the rule of reciprocity. That's why they give away so much free stuff. You're like, ooh, this tastes good. Now you may not want to buy that product, but now you're going to feel obligated to buy something else. So when you come with a gift, and even if the gift is a smile, it's kind of cool. Whatever you got. Now, it reminds me of a story, what you just said, about this sales guy who just gets hired to go work at a new super high-end sporting goods store and all around market. And his very first day, he sells almost $200,000 to one client. And the owner of the store says, "Bring that guy up here." He says, "Hey, John, what happened? How did you get this $239,000 sale, from one client? What did that person come in? Was it a laydown? Were they looking to buy all these things?" "No, they came in to buy a screwdriver." "What? You sold a screwdriver for $239,000? I said, "No, what would you rather be doing?" "What would they be fishing?" "Well, do you have fishing hooks?" "Well, I don't have any fishing hooks." "Do you have any fishing poles?" "Okay." "Hey, well, by the way, do you have a boat?" "Well, no, you don't have a." "Do you have a vehicle to pull the boat?" "Well, no, I need a truck." And
Yep.
so I just took them down because he skillfully questioned and he carefully listened.
Yes.
So everybody wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold.
Exactly.
So
Even one of the little tips for my restaurant server class is if the restaurant that you're at does not have little dinner mints, buy them yourself.
yeah.
And here's a little trick, and shh, don't tell anybody. But you leave one less dinner mint on the table than there are people. You walk away about 2-3 tables, and you turn around, you come back, and you set 2 more down and walk away. It's the the law of reciprocity combined with scarcity and reward and memory. Because while they're sitting there, they're trying to figure out who's not going to get one. And a lot of times they'll all scramble and there'll be one person who didn't get one and two show up.
So along those lines, everybody wants to know a secret. And when you're telling your people that, you say, let me tell you a secret.
Yes.
But you look over your shoulders,
Yep.
like, and see if someone's listening. Let me tell you a secret.
Don't tell anybody. Even though we're on the internet,
Yes.
this is recorded. Don't tell anybody.
Love it.
Okay, Joshua, 30 seconds.
I'm not sure I can do it. I wanted to say thank you all again. I know I missed last week, and that belongs in the impossibly long day category. But as I'm like struggling to not go on to a third page with notes, I said, "Oh man." And then I also wanted to say thank you, Mark, for what you said. Elijah, I really wanted to thank you, brother, because what you said allowed me to see that something that I do, I notice with, especially with values and criteria. So that was the setup. I noticed that, and Holly, a little bit of shout out to you there, because it has to do with inner sovereignty, my will to live, and my desire for freedom as values and criteria. But where I have run afoul for most of the things in my life is the things that are coupled to my will to live. And so when I notice that somebody else is like either struggling, and that could be like real no shit struggle, or they're just struggling with a thing, that I see that I come off with a lot more force than I intend to. And I couldn't see it before. Like I know I have a lot of intensity and a lot of passion for things. Well, the things that I do, but I wasn't seeing it as a will to live argument, that basically I'm having an argument with myself in the mirror that is them about the thing that they're doing. And so I just wanted to say thank you for what you said, because it helped me to make that link.
Cool.
And that's what I got.
All right, kids. Well, here we are. What do I say every week?
Hi, Mom.
Yes, that too. Love you, Mom. But I also get to say, if you don't believe in time manipulation, doing a plank will tell you how long a minute can be. And doing things that you love to do will show you how quickly 2 hours can go by. Just like that. And those are 2 hours that I wish that I could offer back to you guys so that you could not only do this, but do other things. But I haven't figured out how to reproduce time. And I always say, when I do, you'll be the second to know. Until then, I truly appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this platform. For those of you that are out in YouTube land, once again, love you, Mom. And for everybody else that's watching the recording, again, please do me a favor. Click the subscribe, ring the bell, click the like. I could use a few more likes on my videos if you like them. If you don't like the videos, go to somebody else's channel and leave lots of comments. But other than that, I love you guys. Look forward to seeing you again next week. And it's going to be the week after that. I will be in Minnesota. So we got one more here with this lovely background, and we'll see what I look like in 2 weeks. Until then, you
Perhaps
guys.
your mom will join.
Oh, you just gave her chills. I think I will.
She's been on a few times. We love having her.
Uh-huh.
The guest of honor.
Yes. All right,
As the
kids.
poet says, parting is such sweet sorrow.
Mark, you're the best.
Yes. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
You guys all rock. Have a great week.
You too.